Back again for another video. On today's topic, we will be talking about a topic that was requested by a Patreon subscriber. So um, this is your requested video. Hope you enjoy. But the topic today will be about how to select the proper woman to have children with. So let's start with the preface. Once again, men are builders. Throughout society, throughout time, throughout the advent of human inventions, um, mostly men have made society what it is today. And in regards to the family structure, this is also by way of men. Everything that the family structure is and has become is due to either men expressing their power or giving up their power. Those are the two things that you have to keep in mind. When a man gives up his power, he relinquishes it to a woman, and then she starts to form the family structures. This is what we see in the black community. Remember, things are backwards. So now that we understand the power dynamics, the structure, and the things that I'm going to talk about, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of the conversation. So, how does a man select the proper woman to have children with? Well, me myself, I have my own criteria. Um, I've been I'm gonna tell you my story. So I only have 3 children, and I have a vasectomy, which means that I cannot have children anymore. I made this decision back in 2009 not to have any more children, but since that time, there have been many women who have wanted to have children by me. Um, that doesn't mean that every woman was viable as a woman that I should select from to have children with, but nonetheless, that's a fact that still remains. Now, my criteria has been for the longest time. I give women and this is even before I had children. Matter of fact, I'll tell you my story before I had children, then we'll catch back up to this one. So before I had children, I was a virgin all the way up until around about 17, 18, and this was by choice. Of course, I lived in Detroit, so promiscuity back in the 90s was at an all-time high. Um, so I wouldn't have had a problem having children if I wanted to. I've seen people having children to the left and the right of me by the dozens. So it was all too easy for me to do the same. But the reason why I didn't want to do the same is because I understood at a young age that we as men, we have certain abilities, and those abilities include building. And I shouldn't build with a woman who I couldn't see myself with long term. Though I was young, mind you, the first child that I had was at 24, and this was with a complete virgin. I did everything by the book of what I understood. It's just that I excluded a lot of social implications that I wasn't privy to, due to lack of knowledge, due to lack of wisdom, and due to lack of instruction. But nonetheless, I made the best of it for what I could. But how I selected this woman. So I had known her for about 10 years before we even decided to be in a long-term committed relationship. So that's one criteria that I use. I use the criteria of time itself, because I'm a firm believer that time will weed out most things, including women that don't belong in your life. But now my criteria has changed a bit anyways, but nonetheless, it was the time. And also, there were other things, like I said, that I didn't pay attention to. My second wife, and I'll get into those later in the video. My second wife, I selected her because of her ability to overcome things. So I selected for different things in each instance. My second wife, she was not a virgin, but at the same time, she had qualities that I wanted to pass down to children. That I could use for her to pass down to children, should I say. But current days, like I said, I have a vasectomy. And I made that decision because of there not being a lot of quality women out here. That's just the fact of the matter. Most women, from my experience, cannot pass my test that I have set in place for even having children, even past the point where I have a vasectomy. Now, this is no slight to any woman who, wants to pass that test, but nonetheless, this is still my test as it stands. And the reason why I have this test is because every man should have a minimum requirement of things that a woman needs to accomplish in order to prove herself worthy of having a child by you. Believe me, every woman who had a chance to have kids with 50 cents or any other multimillionaire took that opportunity and tried to do that. It was up to the men who discerned them in order to weed out or proceed when it came to those women. How they selected, it was very different and very important to them individually, man by man. No man has the same criteria for what they desire to build with, because we are not all the same kind of builders, right? So my short answer for the other earlier part of this video is going to be that you should find out what your goal is behind building a family with a certain type of woman, and then you should seek out that certain type of woman. Once you find that certain type of woman, you should have a criteria in place that meets the standards that you think are necessary in order to have her pass and have a child with. The reason why you want to do this is because if you hold a woman to no standard, she's going to think that everything that she brings to the table is acceptable, when that is not the case. There are certain things that you should have in place as a man in order to filter out certain type of women. I'm gonna tell you one thing: looks should be very far on the totem pole, on the bottom, because looks can change from generation to generation. Sure, there are some strong traits that may go on that you may want to consider if you want to have a aesthetically pleasing child, but for the most part, it shouldn't be high up on the chain when it comes to what woman you're picking to decide to have children with. Another factor is the other way to look at time is that though you may want to have children at a certain pace, we as men, we can have children well into our latter years of age. So there's no necessarily any rush for us. For women, it's the right place and right time, unfortunately. That's how it works. But this is me talking to the men. Nonetheless, when a woman enters your space, you should automatically have a criteria for her. You should have a way to test this criteria. For instance, mine personally is, if you can give me no problems, and I mean no problems as far as attitude, back talk, show of uncooperativeness, what else is there? Attitude, demeanor. It's basically personality traits, because I am not going to have a child with a woman who cannot go a year without showing those specific personality traits. This is my criteria. The reason why I have this criteria is because I've dealt with women who I have a kid's mother who has really bad personality traits at times. She's getting a lot better these days, but nonetheless, and I had to deal with that for years on end, because I still have a connection and duty to my children that I created. That doesn't change regardless of what she becomes or doesn't become, or what she is or isn't. The fact that I had the child with this woman necessitates that I have some type of or some level of dealing with her. So I would suggest not getting a woman pregnant who you can't even stand for a year, who has an attitude that is non-correctable for a year. There are different criteria a man could place on this, but like I said, mine personally are the personality traits of a woman. If I cannot deal with her personality traits for an entire year, meaning that everything that I seen in that whole year was pleasing to me, then I will not even consider having a child with her. Once again, this is because if the relationship ends for whatever reason, I still have to deal with those personality traits. I don't want a constant headache. You feel me? Or I don't want a constant battle or constant pushback, because the things that I select for, which is agreeability, like I said, mannerism, ability to understand and comprehend those types of things, I don't want those things to be a burden into a child's life and me having to deal with that. It is very problematic. And I think going this route, even taking my own personal template, is a good way to weed out women who will cause problems for you later on. You know, women who are quick to go down to talk to the courts. You know, the women who are quick to cause drama, unnecessary strife. You know, those types of things, because those types of things stem from those types of personality traits that I listed. So that's my template. But nonetheless, my whole point of this video is that every man should have a criteria. And I know the question was, how do I select? I select by criteria, my criteria. I came up with it. I formulated it. I even took pieces and parts from other men, but it is my own, that is tailor-made for a woman that I would select to have a child with. So if you have any more questions, definitely ask. I can talk more specifically. We can exchange messages or something like that. Doesn't matter. But since you signed up for Patreon, you do get exclusive videos, or video requests rather, and also exclusive videos. So here we are. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was very informational. If it wasn't, like I said, ask questions, like, comment, and share. I will post this one to Facebook probably maybe next week. So keep a lookout for that. But anyways, until next time, this has been a Wolf in Bedded Clothes. May you have a good day, and peace be with you.